20 to order. In our agenda tonight, we got 3 proclamations to do, so I'm going to forego the first Q&A session. I'll have some flexibility on the second one if anybody wants to ask any questions. Just because we have 3 proclamations, I don't want to, it's going to take all of our time. So with that, new business, Councillor Martin.
Thank you.
Councillor Thorngoss.
Pass.
Councillor Pollard.
Pass.
Councillor Glenn.
Just quick, thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Roaches. Deputy Mayor. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as amended, please?
So moved.
Second.
For the seconder, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Where am I? We got a set of minutes there from our public council meeting, January 13th, 2020. Any errors or omissions? See a non-motion to adopt those, please.
Second.
For a seconder, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Get some feedback there. So we have 3 proclamations here. We'll start off with one for the Eating Disorder Foundation, and I believe Councillor Martin has that one.
Thank you. The proclamation is for the Eating Disorder Awareness Week, February 1st to 7th, 2020. Whereas an eating disorder is a serious mental illness with often devastating physical implications, whereas eating disorders affect many individuals and families in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, whereas recovery from an eating disorder is a journey that includes support from families and caregivers, whereas the Eating Disorder Foundation of Newfoundland and Labrador is a leadership advocacy group dedicated to promoting support, treatment services, and providing public support services and information about matters relating to eating disorders. Whereas February 1st to 7th, 2020 is dedicated across Newfoundland and Labrador and the entire country as a special time when many educational and awareness activities take place to help raise the level of understanding of eating disorders prevention, treatment and recovery. Whereas the theme for the Eating Disorder Awareness Week 2020 is Eating Disorders Can't Afford to Wait.
Therefore, I, Craig Scott, Mayor of the town of Torbay, do hereby proclaim February 1st to February 7th, 2020 be observed as Eating Disorder Awareness Week in the town of Torbay. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody wanted to speak on this? Myself and Paul Toomey, the Executive Director of the Eating Disorder Foundation, came in last week, I guess on Friday, and we did flag raising for the Eating Disorder Awareness Week, so that was nice to be able to have him in here for that. So obviously this proclamation is past the state, but I think it's still important that we do it. So thank you. Next on the list is a proclamation for Heritage Newfoundland, and I think I gave that one to Councillor Thorngoss.
Okay. Heritage Day Week Proclamation 2020. Whereas the 3rd Monday in February is recognized nationally as Heritage Day, and whereas Heritage Day and Heritage Week are a time to reflect on the achievements of past generations and to accept responsibility for protecting our heritage, and whereas our citizens should be encouraged to celebrate Newfoundland and Labrador's uniqueness and to rejoice in our heritage and environment, and whereas in 2020 the residents of Newfoundland and Labrador will celebrate our rich and diverse heritage.
Therefore, I, Mayor Craig Scott, on behalf of the town of Torbay, do hereby proclaim Monday, February 17, 2020, as Heritage Day, and February 17th to 23rd, 2020, as Heritage Week and call upon all citizens to celebrate the riches of our past and the promise of our future. So moved.
Second.
For seconder, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. And it is February 10th, 2020. 2 down, 1 to go. So we have a third one here from Scouts Canada and Girl Guides of Canada. And I think Councillor Glenn has that one.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Whereas the town of Torbay takes the opportunity to recognize Scout Guide Week, which will take place from February 16th to February 23rd, 2020. Whereas this is a time of celebration for both Scouts Canada and Girl Guides of Canada, the time when both organizations come together in the spirit of our friendship to honor their heritage. Whereas it is also an opportunity for the public to recognize the limitless potential of Canadian youth and the work that both scouting and guiding does to help build a better world for our nation's future leaders. Whereas scouting and guiding instills values of leadership, honor, and teamwork through many exciting outdoor programs they provide for children and youth nationwide. Whereas these programs are developed to maintain, whereas these programs are developed and maintained by energetic and dedicated volunteers who give selflessly of their time and deserve our wholehearted praise and thanks. Whereas so many Canadians, adventure, teamwork, good citizenship, and memories of camp all started with Scouts and Guides.
Now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Craig Scott, on behalf of the Torbay Town Council, wish both Scouts Canada and the Girl Guides of Canada continued success for a strong and vibrant future. So moved.
Second.
And our seconder,
Second.
comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And I will say that, I guess for the last couple of years, I've invited to the Girl Guides year-end dinner, and the amount of children that are in our area is, I don't know how many were there. It seemed like it was more than 100 or 150 or 200 or something like that, but there was a lot, and they had crafts done up they give out for gifts, and the work that they're doing throughout the community is really good. You know, a lot of our kids are involved in sports, and some are not so sports minded, and they like going out and doing adventure in the woods, and scouting is something that gives them an opportunity to do that. So glad that we could do that one as well. Here you go, Ant. Thank you. Moving on. Mayor's report. Let's see. So I'm mostly just going to talk about, first of all, I'm going to mention the birthdays that we got for February. Michael Barron is February 7th, Lisa Lewis, February 24th, and Bob Goss on February the 25th. Just want to wish them all happy birthday on behalf of council, and I hope they have a happy birthday and nice celebration with their families. On February 5th, I guess that's the last week, I guess, I participated in my second legislative review meeting. I'm on a working group with M&L to represent large towns in the province, and we are starting to get through some of the easy topics, I guess, that we talk about in the new municipal legislation. I guess for people that don't know what I'm talking about, there's the Municipalities Act that all municipalities in the province are governed under, and that's currently under review. There's 4 acts, there's 3 city acts, and then there's one main act, I guess, that covers every other municipality. So what we're doing right now is we're going through it, each section, and making recommendations and discussing items that we would like to see changed with regards to responsibilities of municipalities, what type of things we're allowed to do, and they're going to take all of our feedback and bring it back, I guess, to the government, and hopefully our work is going to be done by the end of March, and then in the spring sitting of the House, if we're lucky, they'll bring down the new act. So I know that it's been a big discussion around the provincial table for a while with municipalities about how we're not allowed to do certain things, and we should be able to do this and we should be able to do that, but we can't. Our act is very prescriptive, I think is the word. If it doesn't explicitly say in the act that you can do it, you cannot do it. So there's no wiggle room there whatsoever. So it's something that we're hopefully we're going to be able to get straightened up. Maybe there will be some wiggle room in the next one, things that you may be able to do. You don't necessarily have to do them, but you may do them if you wish. So my next meeting with that is on Wednesday, and we're going to be meeting every 2 weeks after that and until March to try and get going. So anyway, if anybody has any issues or things that they came up along the way that they would like for me to bring forward to discuss at that table, please feel free to send them an email, any items at all, and I'll gladly do it. I guess this is our first meeting since we had our state of emergency, and I just want to say a few words on that. It's mostly thank yous, really. I want to send out a huge thank you to council and staff for a job well done over the course of that week. I know it was pretty hectic here around, well, particularly up at the depot, but around Town Hall. Don and Brian in particular were run off their feet, and they really stepped up to their job, and I think that they did an excellent job, and I will tell them right now that he did do an excellent job, and I want to thank you for that. Our outside workers, our snow clear operators and everybody else who was involved in that also did a great job, and we got nothing but positive feedback from residents, which is really good. And I know that our workers appreciate it. I took a couple of opportunities to go up to the depot and speak to them while their shifts were changing and stuff, just to let them know, thank them on behalf of council for the long hours and hard work they were putting in. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you also, and I don't think this gets mentioned enough, but fire and emergency services were active during that whole week, and they had an operations center set up out on Majors Pat, and I know that Don, at least twice a day, every day, was involved in regional meetings that were held. So, people were there in the office, and other people attended by phone. But there was a lot of coordination went on, contrary to the public perception that's been talked about in the news for the last couple of weeks, that nobody knew what other town was doing. Everybody knew what everybody was doing. It was all shared in those meetings. There was people on those meetings from all the neighboring municipalities. So I just want to say thank you to them for helping to organize that. And thank you to our local business here in town. I know that Keith Hogan in particular from the drugstore contacted me at 7 o'clock in the morning trying to find out if he would be able to open for some specific patients that he had, and I talked to Don, and then we talked to Foodland about getting them to be able to open on that Sunday. So when we started lifting our state of emergency during the day, and it really worked out well for us. And I just want to thank those businesses who were able to open in Irving for providing fuel for the town, because you know, when you're going 24 hours a day like that for almost a week, you go through a lot of fuel, and we were lucky to have them there and tappers at the top of the hill to be able to supplement our fuel needs. So I just want to say thank you to those people. And I guess finally, I just want to say thank you to our residents. Through that whole week, everybody was very positive, and I thought that our town, we did a great job with communications, putting information out so people knew what was going on. It was positive communications, not negative, and I think people appreciated the work that we were doing, and they passed a lot of good comments, and we got a lot of emails and social media posts complimenting the town on the work that we did. So I just want to say thank you for the residents, and they stepped up and helped each other with regards to shoveling and making sure everybody, their neighbors, were good. So With that, I got a couple of cards here that were on my desk in the office that some residents sent in to thank council. I'll just pass them along. Councillor Martin can have a look, and then we'll pass them back, and everybody can have a look at them. But with that, hopefully it'll be a long time before we have to declare another state of emergency. But, you know, with the change in weather patterns and everything, it's, you never know what's going to happen. So it's great that we were prepared, and I think that we did a really good job. This state of emergency in particular was basically it was a snow removal, snow clearing issue. We didn't have any real bad power outages. We had some pockets that lost power for a while. The Newfoundland Power were pretty good getting down and getting that straightened up. But luckily, snow clearing is something that we're fairly good at anyway, or really good at, I'd like to say, that we get complimented on. And when the guys were required, and girls, to really step up and make that extra effort to get the roads cleared as quick as we could, and I think that we really showed that that is something that we do well. And I'm sure that we'll do our post-mortem afterwards and find out that what things worked and what didn't work, and we'll report all that back to council, and then we'll be able to move on from there. But with that, I just want to say, that's all I got to say about that. Thank you. Any questions or comments? No? Okay. Where did I do my agenda? There it is. Business arising report. Any items on that anybody would like to talk about? No. Moving on. Correspondence. We have one here from Justice and Public Safety Fines Option Program. We'll forward that on to, looks like Tina's been dealing with that, or someone's going to be dealing with it. Forward on to planning?
Big combination of planning and
Okay.
recreation community services.
All right. There's one here from Department of Municipal Affairs Environment about our budget submission, saying they're reviewing it. And Transportation and Works, there's a letter here from Transport and Allied Workers Local Union talking about emergency responders. It's there for information purposes. We'll forward that on to our HR. Okay. Anybody got any comments or questions on any of those? All right. Committees of Council. Committee whole, nothing. Planning, Land Use Development, Councillor Martin.
Thank you. We had our regular meeting on February 5th. I was their committee chair, and Councillor Thorne Goss was there as the auxiliary member. Director Winter was there as well. There were some items we discussed. I believe it was our first meeting of the new year, so we had quite a bit to go over. Development proposals. Proposal from property owner on South Pond area to have land rezoned from watershed to residential large lot. Excuse me. Committee reviewed the proposal, and Director noted committee had reviewed a similar request from the other side of the pond. It's currently zoned watershed. Committee agreed that the Director would seek input from Municipal Affairs and the town's planning consultant, so we could determine the best way forward. Excuse me. We also discussed a proposal from a property owner at the end of Bernice Drive to rezone the rear of the property from rural to residential. Committee reviewed the proposal presented, and the Director elaborated on the proposal and how it would implement a proper turnaround. Committee agreed that it would recommend the zoning amendment for approval, and Director Winter acknowledged that the property owner may have to complete a level 1 water study prior to rezoning. Director Winter will check with Municipal Affairs and bring the information back to committee and the property owner. We also had some other items here. Moving on, we had a proposal from a property owner on St. Nicholas Lane. Committee reviewed the proposal. Director Winter noted that this property was previously approved for the same proposal and that nothing had changed zoning wise. The committee agreed it would recommend it for approval again. and that will be dealt with when we get to the business application report, application C2019-129. We also had a proposal from a property at 1300 Thorby Road. That was also another one we reviewed, as they want to demolish the existing structure and redevelop a new residential dwelling. As the property is in a town centre, excuse me, Director Winter noted that as per Section 5 of the town centre land use zone, the redevelopment would be considered discretion of council, and that's something that will go through discretionary use as per Section 5. The application will be dealt with also in the building application report, application C2020-006. Proposal from an owner, 42 Flemings Hill, to construct a chicken coop to hold no more than 6 live chickens. We discussed that, and as per regulation, amendment number 5, 2018. Thank you. Council now has discretion to approve these applications, and we would seek input from the neighbourhood prior to issuing approval. And we also have some correspondence from Crown Land Referral, and committee reviewed the application for Crown Land in the Jones Pond area, along with correspondence from East Habitat Joint Ventures, and we agreed it had no issue with the application, provided that the 30-metre buffer along Jones Pond is maintained and does not form part of the Crown Land grant if approved. Director Winter noted that the land in the currently zoned residential subdivision area, province may not grant the land unless it is properly zoned for the applicant's request. The committee agreed that Director Winter should complete the referral form with the above noted points. And before I move on, are there any questions to the minutes?
I got one.
Go ahead.
The first one, we're rezoning that, or not the first one, sorry, the Bernie's Drive rezoning. Do we notify the neighboring property owners when we're doing the rezoning there?
Not necessarily with property owners, it goes into the general public.
Yeah,
But
okay.
that's something we can do if that's something council wants to do. But we're not at that point. yet.
Okay, all right. I'll talk to you about that one after.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Good.
Okay, I'll proceed.
Councilor Martin?
Oh, yes. Okay, and sorry, I forgot.
All right.
Applications approved, and this was from February 6, 2020, and applications approved from January 10th to February 6th. The following applications were approved subject to the normal conditions and requirements for the building within the town of Torbay. Permits will be issued once all the town of Torbay's condition requirements are met. Application C2019-107, 45 Morris Valley Road, single family dwelling. Application C2019-129, 16 Nicholas Lane, single family dwelling with subsidiary apartment. Application C2020-004, 42 Flemings Hill, accessory building greenhouse. Application C2020-007, 45 Morris Valley Road, accessory building. Application C2020-008, 12 Bournes Close, accessory building. And we have variance and discretionary use application. The following applications have been or will be advertised in accordance with the Town of Torbay's regulations. And motion number 031-18. Application number DM2020-001, C2020-006, 1300 Torbay Road, demolition of existing dwelling and construction of new single-family dwelling. And moving on to the business application report.
Just a second. Go ahead.
Sorry, I should have declared something there. 45 Morris Valley Road, that is Councillor Thorngass's son's property. There
Oh.
was no motion there,
Okay, all right.
but I should have spoken to her about that previously. She would have known the city address anyway.
All right.
But there was no motion there, so I don't think that's
Okay.
zero.
Okay, and business application report, February 6th. Business applications to be considered at regular public council meeting on February 10th, 2020. Application BR 2020-01, 3 Tapper Place, Home Office, for business conducting repairs and maintenance for accessibility equipment. Zoning is residential medium density. The subject property is located within the residential medium density land use zone. The proposed home is listed as a discretionary use within the RMD land use zone. Discretionary use applications are subject to Condition 9 of the RMD land use zone and regulations 33 and 90 of the Torbay Development Regulations. The application was advertised as per discretionary use regulations. No correspondence was received in relation to the proposal, and the recommendation is, committee recommends that the above noted application, subject to the following conditions. All normal conditions and requirements for operating a business within the town of Torbay. The business will be subject to business tax in accordance with the published schedule of taxes and fees for the town of Torbay. There should be no parking of commercial vehicles or storage of materials on the property. So moved.
Over to second.
Any
Questions?
questions?
No? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And so ends my report. My apologies for my coughing.
Sorry.
So I've got just a couple of quick questions. I'm sorry I didn't jump in. I was thinking I was having an opportunity to jump in at a different time. But I just wanted to ask a couple of questions. I'm just a little concerned. So I read here about the, where'd it go? Talking about the property from St. Nicholas Lane. I guess that was approved in principle in 2017, right?
Can I yield that question to Director Winter?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
And previous to that as well.
Right. Because when I read the minutes here, it said committee agreed that it would recommend that it be approved. And then, of course, a couple pages later, this has already been approved. It's already been, the permit's been issued?
Once all conditions are met, that's when all of them.
Right. So I guess
Yeah, that one didn't need a motion.
right, so that's what I'm saying, so we didn't need a motion, but, so I read in the minutes, hey, this is, we're recommending that it be approved, and then, of course, you read down, it says, hey, this is already a done deal. And I understand, I remember talking about that some years ago, because, I'm sure as you know, the graveyard is right next to that spot, right? And anytime you have residential development, always one of the main things you're concerned about is increasing flooding and runoff and all that kind of stuff. So I know that runoff in that particular area would be a very, very sensitive matter, I think, for a lot of people. I guess just if you could, or someone just please just reassure me that when this house gets approved and built and all that kind of stuff, there's going to be zero impact to the graveyard next door. Is there anything that we? I read through here. Could someone please reassure me that there's going to be no negative impact to that graveyard?
Director?
Yeah, so what we require there is grading plans. So
Yep.
any other property in the town, we make sure that one of the new properties plates that all grading is away from adjacent properties. I think in that case, unless they build up really high, which probably won't be the case, that this property will probably be lower than the actual graveyard, so, or on the same level.
Right, 'cause I know that I guess there's a bit of a ditch or whatever like that between I guess where the graveyard is and the house is, if my memory serves me a little bit. I just really concerned about erosion and stuff like that caused by any increase of water runoff and stuff in that area. So,
Just have to make sure to pay particular attention.
yeah, so if we could do that, 'cause I mean, like I said, there's no vote for this, this is the done.
It meets all the requirements, right? So
Yeah,
it's-
it's all about-
Right, but I'm just saying, in this case, I think I would appreciate if, and the public, I think, would appreciate it too, if we kept a special close eye on that. I don't know if there's anything special we can require to be done other than that, like you said, just with some of the grading plans, but I would really hate to
I think
have
just-
a bad conversation in a couple years if something were to happen, right? It'd be bad.
I think just making that mention back to the committee and back to staff
Yep.
to make sure when we go, because we'll go and do footing checks and all that on that, right?
I just made a note that when we get to that point, we'll make sure we have something in there to ensure that.
Yeah, especially even like during the construction phase, make sure everyone's cognizant of sensitivity to the area there, and you know,
Okay.
and then of course going forward, right?
All right, thank you.
I'll make sure there's something in the approval letter when we get that one for the rest of the things.
Yeah, and if you please keep me appraised of that, that'd be great.
Sure.
I just want to add that will be discussed in our meeting about the sensitivity and making sure that, you know, in terms of the cemetery and that will come up.
Okay, all right,
Lots of good stuff.
great, thank you. Thank you, Councilor Martin. Administration and Finance, Councilor Pollard.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll stand, I guess, as soon as we're going to. Can you hear me up in the audience?
Yes,
You
that's
hear me
fine.
without speaker anyway, so I know Madeline was just saying she couldn't hear. Anyway, we met on the 4th of February, myself and Deputy Mayor Appleby and CAO Don and Jacqueline Kudla, Director of Corporate Services. Obviously, it was our first meeting for a while, so we talked about a number of things. First one was the capital budget project summary, I guess, which we had been requesting for some time, and that is in the process of being completed for longer than the immediate year. It goes back to probably the life of the project and carry forward. It was in completed stage at the time with just having to sit down with CAO and the director to make sure that everything's in order, so we should be seeing that shortly. We have notification that we will be under HST audit. According to HST, it is a normal luck of the draw pick. Whether we believe that or not is another thing. We did have a substantial HST refund in the previous year, so I expect that that may have helped rise it to the top of the list, but I'm sure everything will be in order once it comes in, and it's normal process anyway. Line of credit, we are running close to our limit of cash in the bank that is unencumbered at the present time, i.e. not on deposit or not on investment deposit. So we figured it best right now for us to just open up a line of credit and operate it rather than close up the investments at this point in time, as we expected we'd only dip into it for a short period. As everyone knows, this time of year we're into the first lean months, I guess, of operating in terms of still waiting for our taxes to come in. So we will be probably dipping into it to $200,000, but there's a motion here that the town of Torbay renews operating line of credit with RBC Royal Bank with fiscal calendar year 2020 in the amount of $1 million. So moved.
Second.
Seconder,
I just want to say that will not be used unless it's absolutely necessary, and we expect that once the taxes start to come in, then that'll be back to normal operating.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried.
We're in the process of discussing Budget 2020, how we report on that moving forward, and a bunch of new reports, and I expect that over the next month or so we'll come back to how we're going to report that to our residents on a regular basis. All the invoices have been sent out relating to our taxation, so that's good news, and obviously the quicker they're out, the quicker people have them, and I'm sure the slower they will pay their taxes anyway until they get to the very end, but at least they're in everybody's hands. Procurement, there is a draft procurement strategy in circulation, and we ask that all folks take a look at it and get back to us with any comments so that we can make the final drafts. I know I have done it, and I'm quite pleased with the document that's there, so that's my comments. If I put them in writing, but anybody else has any comments, feel free to do so. Gas tax agreement, we didn't get a chance to speak to much about that, but we will certainly talk about the whole cash flow and arrangements at the next meeting. Respect for workplace policy update and required training. There is a legislative requirement for us to have respect for workplace plan in place and required for us to do training. That is also circulated. I know I have a copy. I think CEO that's been circulated since.
We're incorporating the changes as per Deputy Mayor's request, so that will go out the next day or so.
Okay. So that's, once everybody gets that, take a quick look and spend a bit of time to run down through it, make sure that it covers everything that you might think needs to be done there, so we can get that back and reviewed and finalized and adopted. The Fire Department Constitution has been referred back to the next committee meeting, as there are some discussion around the changes that were requested from the Fire Department. Every year we need to appoint an assessment commissioner, and this year being no different, so we will put a motion forward now to appoint a commissioner based on an RFP for 3 years, so it's not every year, it's every 3 years in this case. So further to RFP 2019-01, Resolution 40, 2019, and Section 32 of the Assessment Act. The Town of Torbay appoint Donald C. Peckham as the Assessment Review Commissioner for the 2020 calendar year. So moved.
Mover, seconder, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, carried.
There's a request came in for donation to municipalities Newfoundland and Labrador Avalon Eastern Regional Meeting. While I have some issues with that request overall, I don't in particular have a problem with the motion to support it in general, but ask that both our representatives go back and discuss that whole circumstance around them requesting additional money outside the regular registrations and our fees, yearly fees. So the motion is Town of Torbay provide a $500 event partner sponsorship for the 2020 M&L Avalon and Eastern Regional Meeting. This expenditure will be allocated to public relations. So moved.
Mover, the seconder, comments?
Just like to, I guess, second Councillor Pollard's comments with that. Like I say, no, we do charitable donations lots of times. So for every $500 we give to organizations like this is $500 less we could be given to Scouts Canada or whatever like that. So again, like we do support M&L, and I think it's a wonderful organization. Don't be wrong, but going forward, we should probably take a closer look at. I know it's not a lot of money, but just at a principle, this opportunity cost will be given somewhere else, right?
Deputy
Especially
Mayor,
for M&L, communications or public relations, there's probably better causes, right?
Deputy Mayor already indicated that she's got it on her list of things to bring back to the table. So,
Okay. Thank you.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
The next part, the payroll for the period January 9th to the 22nd was of 44 employees for the amount of $116,996.80. For the period January 23rd to the 5th of February for 44 employees total $130,250.50. Invoices processed during the period January 1st, 2020, it was 179, or for January, I guess, 179 invoices in the amount of $587,557.33. And there are a number of invoices here greater than $5,000 for approval, so I'll run down through those. Cattle Grow Insurance Limited for all our insurance needs, with the exception of, I think, the firefighters insurance. The renewal is the amount of $115,027.10. Pension contributions to CIBC Mellon for January in the amount of $18,510.08. Circle K for state of emergency fuel in the amount of $9,276.62. Commissioners, Municipal Enforcement, December 15th to the 28th, $5,336. Harborside Transportation Consultants, which is phase 1 for sidewalk contract administration, which was part of the contract that they had signed for the tender that we had cancelled after that for Juniper Ridge area. $6,339.38. Honda 1, the purchase of a snow blower for Torbay Common in the amount of $5,227.90. Municipal Assessment Agency, excuse me, first quarter assessment fees for 2020 in the amount of $25,434.50. Municipalities Newfoundland and Labrador at a 2020 M&L and PMA fees in the amount of $9,840.67. Hence my comment earlier about the request for the extra $500 for something else. Newfoundland and Labrador mobile shelters, upgrades to the 3-quarter upon progress plan number 4 in the amount of $51,598.52. Procom Data Service is the 2020 Town Suite license subscription, which is essentially all the accounting, receivable, payables, payroll, tangible capital asset, computer programs, computer licenses that we run each year in the amount of $33,622.03. Receiver General, January 1st to the 15th, in the amount of $38,990.41. January 16th to the 31st, Receiver General, in the amount of $39,186.29. Payment to Stuart McKelvey for the Community Center rental agreement consultations in the amount of $5,074.95. Trio Group benefits for the January benefits in the amount of $9,306.39. Triware prepaid support hours in the amount of $5,750. Wood Environment and Infrastructure Solutions for Community Center services, part of the ongoing, getting close to final, if not the final payment, in the amount of $5,560.83. And we still have some holdbacks related to the work done. All for a total of, I can't tell you because I was not added up. Is it on top? Sorry. Where? Sir?
Right above the table.
Right above the table?
The bullet.
Oh, sorry, look at that. $384,081.67. Right there in front of me, I missed it. Okay. So moved.
Second.
Word, seconder, questions?
Just
Great.
I guess a quick comment, not to talk too much about sidewalks or whatnot, but just want to bring council's attention, for example, where we did cancel that sidewalk tender, that we still have, still $6,000.
Right, but the work is done.
For the work is done, so just as we go forward as a team and stuff like that, I'm not trying to rub it in his nose or anything, but just, there are costs associated with canceling tenders and stuff like that, so we need to, so when we make our decisions go forward, that there's still, there's costs to a lot of stuff that we do.
Thank you. Anyone else? Great.
I'd just like to touch on base with regards to Harborside. So I was going to ask the question, so that was from last year's
Correct.
that we went out? And that was a question that I guess was asked, seeing that there wasn't a lot of information when the motion was made originally to go from Juniper Ridge to the new community center, and how much, but I thought that we already had an invoice from them with regards to the cost of this. I thought there was one already for around 10,000. I must have dreamt that, didn't I?
No, that's invoice 101. So that was, and go back and provide the list.
Okay, because I'm thinking there's more to it than even this cost here. The other
They've done other projects with us as well too, so like the traffic lights and the crosswalk.
yeah, I was just wondering though about the sidewalk in particular. So we get clarification on that if we did have a prior one. And the other one that I wanted to mention is the community center rental agreement consultations for $5,774.95. What transpired there? Because for that amount of money to look at a rental agreement, what's the story, or what happened with that particular one? Do you know, Councillor Pollard?
Not intimately, but I do know that there was a fair bit of work done around individual rentals and how the fees were structured and things of that nature. And legal side things.
Drafting of the agreement, right, there wasn't consultations, it was drafting of the agreement.
So I can speak to that if you want, Councilor Pongratz.
Okay.
So and Tina, or Director, please correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the things, and this should be shared via email over the next couple of days. So we went back. One of the big complications, and quite frankly, with the rental agreements we've got, has been dealing with alcohol and basically our alcohol-related sales and events, and it required a lot of extra legal scrutiny. Of course, anytime that you're having alcohol being served at the same town place as that you're delivering youth programming, recreational programming, it's very complicated, and basically we made sure that we contacted lawyers to see what we need to put in place to make sure that the youth of our community and all user groups are protected, and that's going to be the rental agreement is going to be with some of that information. It's going to be shared with council, and then hopefully we can talk about it at our committee as a whole, and then bring it forward for for debate and passing in a couple weeks.
Okay, so I'd like to see a breakdown of what that cost involved, because it seems awful steep. Regardless, I know the reason for it now, but again,
For the
the
hour.
fact that it's $5,000 seems to be way up there. Okay,
But that's all SOPA, sir.
Correct. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
So on my report, Your Worship, the statements year to date are, or sorry, it looks like last year's are attached.
Okay, thank you. Economic Development and Tourism. Councillor Martin.
Would you like me to do both reports?
You don't, listen, you don't have to read them whole reports out, just highlight the tops.
Okay.
That's all. Go easy on your throat.
There are minutes here for two committee meetings. One we had before the major storm. We reviewed the minutes from the previous meeting and discussed economic development, tourism, culture and heritage, and some new business. And that was on January 16th. Deputy Mayor as chair, myself as secondary councillor, and Deanne Lawrence as our officer. Lots of new business being discussed, such as Busha business, information shared regarding World City data, and Canadian Cities pilot project, tourism marketing and development strategy plan to move forward on some review and evaluation of economic development items. And we still had our ongoing standing items. That meeting was adjourned at 7:32 p.m. The more recent one was on January 30th. Myself as the auxiliary councillor, Mayor Scott stepped in as Deputy Mayor was absent, and Deanne Lawrence as our officer. Miss Lawrence gave an in-depth overview of the data for Canadian Cities pilot project. And we spoke about Torbay and tourism, such as regional wayfinding, the Pickle Ridge project, and various memberships with professional organisations. And we're also been contacted by the Canada Revenue Agency for a community-based volunteer free tax clinic for the upcoming tax season. Torbay will host a free tax clinic in collaboration with CRA at the Torbay Community Centre on Monday evenings during the month of March. So anyone needs tax assistance, that's the place to go. We also went over again our standing items, and that meeting was adjourned at 7:09 p.m. Any questions? Thank you. And
Thank you. Moving on. Infrastructure, Public Works. Councillor Thorngas.
first of all, I would like to say that we didn't have a meeting as such. We had difficulty getting our quorum together. But so what I have here is an update. I met briefly with the Director of Infrastructure and Public Works before our development meeting. And I guess with regards to snow clearing, the Mayor gave a good overview of everything that happened there during the state of emergency. And everything went very positive. A lot of good feedback from the residents. Garbage collections were back to normal. And say that the garbage collector did an excellent job in bringing everything back to after the state of emergency. We briefly just mentioned the 2020 projects, such as the ball field lights, Country Drive, Shays Lane intersection, and the warning lights for the fire department. They're all under consultation between the director and the CAO. And flow meters, director and CEO will be meeting with the Department of Environment to discuss over the next week or so. Previously scheduled meeting was cancelled because of the SOE. Norpon water usage numbers are continuing to be lower than we had expected. And sidewalks, which is a standing item here, and the director and the CAO are continuing their discussions along with regards to sidewalks. Other items, recycling program. We hope, and I know this, I'm beginning to sound like a broken record here with regards to setting up a meeting with Paula Lancaster. So I asked the CAO to do that because we want to take on an education program with the schools as well. And there's a lot of very valuable information that we had from the community market. And the other thing that I just wanted to mention was, and I've asked the director to follow up on it, is the issue with the various maps, or Google in particular, in some of the locations around the town. I had a call from a resident again this afternoon with regards to Reardon's Lane, and if there's ever an emergency with regards to some of those roads, if they're not properly, directions not properly given, it could be a life and death situation, and it's causing a lot of unneeded and unwanted traffic going over Reardon's Lane. And next meeting topics is the gas tax refunds and multipurpose building at Upper Three Corner Pond. And so ends my report.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Recreation and Community Services. Councillor Glenn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got two sets of minutes here. One from January 14th. Myself and Councillor Roach were there, as well as the Director of Recreation and Community Services. We specifically spent that entire meeting talking about the rental agreement, and we went down through it line by line, basically, and that was the draft that we sent to legal, and they again sent it back to us, and that was on January 14th. And so moved, or I'd like to. Sorry.
You have no motion?
Yeah, no. Lack of sleep. And our second meeting is February 4th, 2020. Myself and Councillor Roach were there, as well as CEO Don Chaplin, as well as the Director of Recreation and Community Services. We had many items we discussed. The first one was the seniors' Christmas dinner costs, and we're going to circulate the more detailed breakdown of that to council as per request. We also talked about business rentals, and again, just for council's information, we did adopt a fee structure, right? So we had residents pay basically a slightly discounted rate, and businesses we charge another certain amount. And that's what we all agreed upon. So just all we did was reassure staff just to stick to those fees until such time if we want to change them, we can change them. But just requested that they follow along with what council's in regards to those. But then we talked about the number 3 here. We talked about the rental agreement. Again, that's going to be going to the rest of council or all of council for the review and discussion next week. Again, I think it's a very important discussion that we have to have, particularly with a couple items related to alcohol, like we said. Number 4, basically we talked about Canada Summer Jobs, and we're going to be putting an application in for that before the end of February. And our upcoming programs include our Active Start, drop-in sports, ball hockey, archery, which I'm really, really excited about actually. We've got some cards, games, merchandise bingo, young builders, dodgeball, and open gyms. Some other things we're saying that are coming up soon. Basically on March 1st, Torbay will host the Egg Farmers of Canada Rocks, and Rings. And the cool part about that is that Nathan Young will be our special guest at the event. Nathan is 17 years old from Torbay. He'll be joining Laura Nagy in a Canadian-Hungarian partnership in the mixed doubles championship at the 2020 World Youth Olympic Games in Switzerland. So that's exciting. February 2nd, we've got adult bowling, still to be confirmed. February 13th, we're going to have a Valentine's hike. On the 17th, cooking around the world in partnership with Sobeys Mediterranean Style. On the 22nd, winter family fun at the Common. And the 23rd, family art with brush strokes. And I know this was actually mentioned earlier, but we are going to be having a free tax clinic offered by the CRA, done through a community volunteer tax program. So that information is being shared out right now, and it's going to take place basically every Monday during the month of March at the Commons. So that's actually a really good program. Kind of goes along with lots of folks need help with their taxes. And we also like to congratulate Danny Lowe, Paul Roach, and Matt Douglas on obtaining full certification in operations of our splash pad. Okay. So thank you.
Questions? Nope. Okay, thank you. Moving on, liaison committees. Atlantic Mayor's Congress. My next meeting is in April, so I haven't received all the details yet. When I do, I'll register and we'll figure out what's going on with that. Intergovernmental affairs, provincial. Tomorrow night we're having our MHA in to meet with us and Minister Dirk Bragg from Municipal Affairs and Environment coming and talk about our water project. So that's at 6:30 tomorrow. 6:30 tomorrow. So hopefully everybody will be here. Jack Byrne Arena, no report. Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's it.
carry on.
Sorry I didn't get a chance to put it in, but I had the experience of attending the first Jack Byrne Arena board meeting. There's a number of items on the agenda. The biggest ones, I guess, really, and there are a number of other things here, but we're still trying to finalize the lease agreement and management agreement. I think it needs to get to a meeting of the mayors.
We're meeting this week actually, and hopefully we'll talk about it. But I don't know why it didn't go there.
Yeah.
Right? To me, it was done. It should have been done. We already circulated to our council, and we talked about it at our council meeting. I thought we were ready to roll. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was surprised that it came back too, but it came, I know, from Logan Milk of Buttercup. It talked about their review of legal and the insurance and tenancy in common. Not that the building is not insured, but if something happens, we don't really know who gets the funds because there's no joint tenancy agreement or something in place for the insurance. But I think that's something that we should all jump on and try to get our head around that there. The next biggest thing, I guess, is they wanted us to set a date or contact us or have a contact inside to set a date for community engagement relating to the second ice surface. Didn't get into that long conversation as to where I wanted to stand or where I thought Tor base fit on it. They just wanted to have the opportunity to come in a public forum and speak, and they wanted to have that done between now and the end of February sometime. So
Isn't that just with our council though? I thought that was just with our.
maybe it is.
I'm
not sure.
I thought it was with our four councils.
It's okay, because and the reason you twigged that, they did say they had it for Flabberg already, and there were 5 council and 4 staff there, so just to be reconfirmed that, and maybe we should, so something we need to consider between now and in February, not that, anyway, I'll speak to that if we get together. So, go ahead, Jeff, you want to say something?
Just, I guess I could share some of your frustrations with that. I wouldn't do anything until we get that agreement in place, right? If we can't get the agreement for a current ice surface like solidified, we shouldn't be talking about the second one. Finish the first one and get all that settled away before we even talk about the second one.
There's a lease agreement in place, how we operate the building. I mean, it's just an update to the lease agreement. So there is one in place that's expired, but it's still existing. So
So you get my point.
I get your point, but it's 2 different issues.
I don't. There was a number of other things discussed in terms of the internal operations. I don't really want to get involved in those things. They did discuss an increase in the bill out rate per hour, and I was kind of shocked when they mentioned dollar value, and I said, that's per person. They said, oh no, that's per hour. And I said, what? And I didn't get divided by like about 50 cents per person. And I said, that got to change, folks, or at least I think it should. So anyway, that's where my head went. So I think they were half happy that was that way, that we probably look for some type of revenue recovery. The next thing that leads into there is that they are showing a financial loss so far of $37,000 for the year. So the discussion around who ends up subsidizing that at some point in time raised its head. It won't be anybody this time around, but certainly something we need to talk about. So on that side of things, I did speak to how we're going to need to go ahead overall in terms of governance and putting aside money for futures and things like that. So just got my introduction to the whole operation, I guess, and I think there are some things that definitely need to be discussed in more detail in future and certainly kept an eye on. And I certainly don't mean to make it as negative at that side. I think it just needs a better, I think, governance overall and some decision on how we want to move forward, both with the existing ice service and the services that are offered and the potential discussion around second ice service. Anyway, I'll leave it at that for the time being, and I'll update you again after I have the next meeting.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So that's in reference, I guess, when we come and give a presentation, is in reference to that letter
That we received before Christmas.
Yes.
So, like I mentioned to the deputy mayor, sooner versus later, we need at least hear what's in that proposal and what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So can that be, I'm just looking at, there's not very many weeks before we can try to fit that in, because I'm talking about anything else. We really need to know.
Yeah, you know what, we'll have a look tomorrow. We'll have a look tomorrow at our calendar now and see if we can fit it in somewhere.
And the other thing, I'm surprised, I guess, that they're looking if they've got a shortage of $37,000, because I understood that they had a slush fund that
We
they
haven't
were always
received,
in.
we haven't received the financials yet though, Tony, have we from there? No, so.
That's what I was saying, they won't be looking for money from the towns at this point in time, because they will. I didn't see the balance sheet, all I saw was the English statement. They may very well have the cash to cover that. I'm still concerned about that side of things too, because dipping into that cash means there's no reserves there available for other things that I think we should have reserves for,
But that's my point, I thought that there was reserves there.
Yeah, but until we see actually the report when they come in with it and they do their AGM, we won't know why that 37,000 was. It could have been a piece of equipment broke or, you know,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I know. That's kind of concerning that,
The financial statements were, sorry, Mary, the financial statements were passed out at, not the audit, I'm going to say audit because I don't think it's audit, I think it's accountant's comments, but anyway, the financial statements were just passed out at that meeting, and I said, you know, we can't speak this now, we had no time to review it, so we didn't, and I said that, you know, we would have questions asked, and there are some questions that need to be answered in relation to that, but
Yep.
that's an eye-opener and, yeah, potentially another full-time job, you know, but anyway.
Well, you can handle it.
Just on that note, Your Worship, and I meant to say this earlier, I won't be here for the next two council meetings. I have a meeting, Federation of Canadian Municipalities Asset Management Working Group on the next council meeting, and then I'm on vacation on the council meeting after that. I will be back for the next one, just in time not to miss 3 in a row.
Okay. Yeah,
But I
but
will be at the committee meeting next, and I may miss the next meeting after that.
that 3 in a row means 3 months, right? Because councils are only required to meet once a month.
Extend my vacation.
All right, thank you.
Just a quick
Yeah.
question. I know 'cause we've said this before about the second ice surface, and I know a lot of people
Do,
around.
do we even have to beat that to death
No,
right
I
now?
just, I'm sorry, I won't beat it, but some people don't like to talk about it, but we've talked about it enough. This is, again, I'm surprised that we're still talking about it. But especially, just I'm wondering, I guess, how much money is being spent on the second ice surface, or the potential for it, or the researching of it, or the communicate. Like, it just seems there's a lot of.
The,
I would just like to see a dollar figure to say how much that
Right.
the arena board has spent on promotion and planning and all this stuff of a second ice surface, which we as the principal owners have not.
whatever was done last year came in the financials that came from Jackburn Arena last year to the councils.
Right.
So it's there.
Right. I'm
We
just
received
wondering
it.
what that number
So
is.
we could ask them, and Tony can communicate back, I guess, to them. Can they provide us with that information when they come
it's just
to have
an
that
easy-
meeting?
Again, it's an easy question. So.
Yeah.
But that's additional now, if they're looking in with another letter, and they obviously got another idea in their mind, so that would be extra versus what they had last year.
Yeah.
Just we always need to make sure that, again, I love the board and the arena and all that kind of stuff. It's not a negative criticism here, but we need to make sure that people stay within the mandate of what they're supposed to do, and especially if they're bringing back or projecting, $40,000 loss, that we're not spending, we're spending the money the way that our taxpayers are expected to
Agree.
be spent, right? That's all.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Northeast Southland Joint Council, you're meeting Wednesday night, right?
Meeting on Wednesday night, yes.
Okay, so there's no update there then, that's it. No update for RNC, Torbay Volunteer Fire Department, Councilor Martin.
Thank you. We had our meeting February 3rd. It was the first one hence the state of emergency. A lot of business was discussed pertaining to the state of emergency. There were a total of 19 calls. 5 were medical, 3 alarm, 2 2 RTAs, 3 extra service calls related to the storm, 1 pole fire related to the storm, and 3 wire down calls related to the storm. There's also a chimney fire, another pole down. So they were they were quite busy, and I wanted to acknowledge members from both Flatrock and Torbay for housing both fire stations during the storm and being ready for immediate standby for calls. And I know that worked well, because there was one instance where a roof blew off of a house right in the middle of the storm. So I want to express extra acknowledgement for the fire department for that, and the management down within that organisation. They did a good job. So other than that, I'm meeting with them tomorrow evening to discuss firefighter of the year, and their next Monday night is their next fire department meeting. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And I also, would pass along, and it's the problem when you get into mentioning groups when you're thanking them, is that the fire department did where they were on standby. They did a great job, and it's our plow operator sat here at the parking lot with them in case they had to go somewhere. So we were prepared if that fire truck had to get somewhere and not be stuck in a snowbank. So absolutely, they did great. Thank you. UMC, I guess, is next on the list, right? We're meeting this week, Valentine's Day and the day after, on Friday.
Who chose that date, Georgia?
I did. And it was out of necessity, because I never realized, but when you sit down to go through these calendars and you're trying to deal with other members of M&L and whatever stuff is going on with Avalon meetings and Labrador affairs and all these other things that are happening where people got to be gone, it's hard to line up the date and then to line up a place to host as well. And we tried to say on the Avalon this time, so just because of the winter, for traveling purposes, it makes it easier for people to get here. So Paradise stepped up and decided they would host, so thank you to them. And Friday night or Friday afternoon, we'll get started with that, and then into Saturday. And we do have a component on the agenda to talk about the recent state of emergency on Northeast Avalon and lessons learned and stuff from groups around the table. We're going to have the CAOs there and our representatives from the council. So should be a good conversation, I would imagine. And I'm looking forward to it. So where am I to? Notice of motion. You're right on. New business. Councillor Martin.
Thanks. Again, picking up, I guess, from my thanks for the fire department, I as well wanted to thank staff, and especially our CAO and Director Winter, and all those that were involved. The various community groups, Lions Club, Women's Auxiliary for the Fire Department, are just a few to mention. Excuse me. And I also wanted to thank the residents for their patience with us. The main issue, that drove our state of emergency was snow clearing, but we were able to get the supermarket open and the drugstore and some other businesses. And I just wanted to express my thanks to everyone for their involvement. I remember getting gas myself at Irving when all of our fleet were filling up, and they all looked exhausted, but they were in good positive spirits, and kept trucking away at it. So hopefully this is a good learning experience for us if it happens again. But hopefully once that document is updated after a post-mortem, we can put it away and not have to redeem it anytime soon. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Councillor Thorngas. Oh, yeah, so you did. Where am I to? Councillor Gland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to reiterate, I guess, some of the things that people said about the state of emergency, and really just want to thank staff and I guess all our our volunteers and all that for just, I mean, it's just a job well done when it came to that. I mean, and yourself, Mr. Mayor, for for taking initiative in calling that state of emergency. I think it was the right thing to do, and geez, it's just it could have been a lot worse, right? And I think we handled it really well. And again, not to repeat everything you said, but particularly to our residents, and everyone kind of looked out for each other. And I think we're all going to look back in a couple of years, and it's quite a memorable week. I know I spent a week home with my family. I think it's probably one of the most special weeks of my whole life. It's probably one of the happiest I've ever been, type of thing, right? Building snow forts and all that kind of stuff. And besides the digging, everything was pretty good. But and like you said, there was a lot of communication going on behind the scenes. This stuff just doesn't happen, and our staff did a fantastic job. The folks on the road, and in particular, I guess CEO, CAO, for all your work behind the scenes, coordinating that stuff. That stuff doesn't happen by itself, right? This was a really, really great job, and I know we had still a brand new director of Public Works, and I know he proved himself in a kind of a what's the word? Trial by fire. That's what I was working for. Trial by fire. And so just kudos all around. So you guys been working lots of hours. So I hope you take a bit of a break and take a rest of yourselves.
Sure. Thank you. Just got a couple of quick ones, I guess. I can't read my writing. That's going to be a problem. I just got two congratulations. Congratulations to Nathan Young, who won mixed doubles gold medal at the Youth Olympics in Switzerland. We're going to have him in a couple of weeks and next council meeting to recognize his achievement. So it's really good for 17 years old. Awesome. He got a bright future in curling, looks like, hopefully. And also, congratulations to our newest business in town, Tor Bakery. I dropped in yesterday, got a couple of loaves of bread, and it seems that it's really popular and the food is really good. So it's nice that people can get out and spread around their dollars throughout our town to different businesses. But I just want to say congratulations to them and thank you for choosing Torbay, and good luck. And with that, I will ask if there's anybody in the gallery. Okay, we got 4. All right. Who wants to go first? Robbie, go ahead.
I just wanted to compliment the town council and staff for the way things were handled during the state of emergency. I thought it went really, really, really comforting for residents like myself. But I would like to actually single out a few people: Councillor Martin, our CAO Don Chaplin, and Mayor Scott for their concern and kindness. Mayor Scott even brought his snowmobile over to my place and had a go at clearing out some of my massive snow. So I really appreciate, excuse me, I really appreciate your concern and efforts during that state of emergency. Good job.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. You got a cold?
Can I go next?
Sure. You got the name?
I also want to thank everybody. You were really great.
And needs to write your name down.
Cindy Coates Musgrave. Yeah.
Cindy Musgrave.
That's okay. And thank everybody. It was really good. I especially want to thank Brian. I called him about our fire hydrant at, I think it was 9 in the morning. I got back at 10:10. I think it was all finished. He had it all done. Thank you very much. The other thing, I live on 28 Lower Street. And when we're coming out of Lower Street, there's 2 mounds of snow going up towards the hill. And we cannot see the traffic coming. And I was wondering if some of that could be shaved off the top, possibly. The miles per hour is 50 right in that area.
Yeah,
and when the minute they
turn.
hit the 50 up there on the hill, They go 70 because they come right down really quickly. And the other night, my husband and I were going out, and we thought we were clear on both sides, and we almost had an accident. They were coming so quickly. And I was wondering if that could... Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you. Next. Mike?
Hello, everybody. I'm going to be a little bit on the other side of it. It's a little bit of a negative comment, but that's the way it is. I'm in a cul-de-sac. It's Z-level priority, I know that, which is fine. But I found the snow clearing poor at best in my area. Every time for the last 10 years, they come in and do a circle and leave. It takes 30 seconds. They spent extra time to do a poor job by just coming in, ramming the snow, and slowly backing back out. I don't understand why it was done. Never seen it before, never seen it again since. So I don't know why they did it, but it screwed up the entire cul-de-sac for the next 2 weeks. If it wasn't for a private operator, we were screwed down there. They finally came in and fixed it. I thought they were going to come in. They came in with the snow blower. They skipped us. They came in and said, nah, kept on going. A week later, they finally came back, cleared it out. So it wasn't good for me, but I know there was a lot of other things going on. But to do the work and do the poor side of it, just well not to do it. If they had not have come in our cul-de-sac, would have been better. Second of all, I don't know what Torbay's policy is, but I'm not impressed with people leaving their garbage bins out and sports equipment out, like basketball nets and hockey equipment, during the snow clearing, because the snow clearers have to gingerly go around it and take extra time to deal with that. I see it everywhere. On my cul-de-sac, there's 3 that happens. It's a waste of time, and Torbay should be either removing these or telling residents to get rid of them.
Okay. Good
That's
point.
it.
Good point.
Thanks.
And I did visit your cul-de-sac, but you were working that night.
Well, I was working the whole week, and I wanted to come out. And like I said, you want to go out, everyone's out there doing their thing, and you got to leave your driveway undone because you're working, right?
Yeah. It's unfortunate. But,
But,
it seemed like your little neighborhood there kind of made the most of it,
They did.
right? Bonfire and the beers and the kids out playing in the snowbank.
Well, there's not much else you could do out there, right?
Oh, really? Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Craig Madeline? Sure.
I would also like to say that a big thank you to the work that was done during the storm. There are sometimes, once in a while, that I wish I was on a town road, and this January was one of them. You do a much better job than the province, and it was very obvious. And I think not just Torbay, but I think the province and St. John's have really, we're really behind on the job, and other towns, small towns, have did really a good job. I think to me it felt like a holiday. No council meetings, nothing, no meetings, and and I think that for many families it was probably an opportunity to rediscover winter fun. And there is one thing that struck me because of the storm, is because I walk every day, and it's very difficult to find places to walk this year, and not always, not in the last 2 years have been great. But I think the snow is so deep, and you can snowshoe, but it's very difficult for the average person to find places to walk. And I discovered that the town of CBS pays the Grand Concourse to groom 12 kilometers of trailway in the wintertime. And you wouldn't believe the people that are walking that trail. 10 feet wide, hard surface to walk on, tons of people all the time. And I think it's like a year like this, it would be really nice if we did provide opportunities for people to get out and enjoy the winter, and not have to walk on the roads and so on in Torbay. And we do have a couple of places that perhaps we could consider next year for that kind of thing, because I think it's really useful, and I think it's great.
Yeah, and you're right, there was a lot of people out. There's a lot of people out right now snowshoeing and enjoying the outdoors. It's great.
Yeah. So I know that some of the trailway was damaged, so they've cut back the 12 kilometers they actually can groom right now, because there's 4 kilometers that's been damaged of the trailway. But it's a fabulous trail. So if anybody's looking for walking opportunities, that's a good place to go.
Oh, and the other thing too, if people don't want to walk outside in the deep snow, they can go walk around in our community centre, the gym. Or the Jack Byrne Arena, but as soon as they went to our community centre. Thank you. Patricia, you're the only one left. You might as well.
No, I just wanted to say thumbs up, and I'll just ditto to what Robbie and Madeline said, and great job all around. No problems up my way. It was great. Bit too much snow, but
Yeah. Thank you. There's not much we can do about the amount of snow. Only what we can do with it. All right, thank you very much. And thank you guys for coming out again tonight. The next public council meeting is scheduled to take place Monday, February 24th, 6:30 here at the Torbay Town Hall. And with that, I would entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Motion and a seconder, all in favor?